I still remember the way the room went quiet. Not the respectful kind of quiet, but the kind that happens when someone decides you don't belong before you've even finished your sentence. I was standing in the lobby of a private bank on the east side of the city. Tall glass windows, marble floors, the smell of expensive coffee drifting from somewhere behind the desks. The kind of place where people lower their voices without realizing they're doing it. I had just taken one step forward when the woman at the reception desk glanced up at me, scanned me from shoes to shoulders, and said flat and rehearsed, "I'm sorry, ma'am, we only serve qualified clients here." She smiled when she said it. That was the part that stung the most. For half a second I wondered if I'd misheard her. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because of how familiar it felt. That quiet judgment. That assumption wrapped in politeness. I'd been dealing with versions of it my whole life. I stood there holding my portfolio a little tighter than before and said calmly, "I'm here to open a corporate account." She didn't even ask my name. Instead, she tilted her head slightly the way people do when they're trying to sound helpful while pushing you away. Business accounts require prior approval, an appointment, significant assets. This branch caters to a certain clientele. A certain clientele. I looked around. Men in tailored suits. Watches that probably cost more than my first car. Confident postures. No one was being questioned. No one was being asked to prove they deserved to stand there. I felt it then, that familiar mix of irritation and disappointment. Not rage, not yet. Just the dull realization that I'd already been sorted into the wrong box. Here's the thing, though. I've learned something over the years. When people think they're powerful, they stop being careful. And when they stop being careful, they show you exactly who they are. So I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't demand anything. I said, "Could you please check with your manager?" That's when her expression shifted. Not annoyed, not angry, just amused. "He's busy. And honestly, I don't think this is the right place for you. There are plenty of community banks a few blocks away. They're more flexible." Flexible. I nodded slowly. Took a breath. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck, the old instinct to defend myself, to list credentials, to prove something. But I didn't. I'd spent too many years learning that the need to prove yourself is exactly what people like this expect. A few minutes later, a man stepped out of a glass office near the back. Gray hair, confident stride, the kind of confidence that comes from never being questioned. He glanced at me once, then turned to the receptionist. "What's the issue?" She gestured toward me like I was an inconvenience that had wandered in off the street. "She wants to open a business account without an appointment." The manager looked at me properly this time, not as a person, but as a calculation. He sighed, already bored. "Ma'am," he said, "this branch serves high-value clients. Established firms, not startups." I smiled, small and controlled. "I didn't say I was a startup." He waved a hand dismissively. "Regardless, this isn't how things are done here. We have standards." Standards, another word I'd learned to translate. I felt the humiliation, then sharp, unexpected. Not because of what he said, but because of how comfortable he was saying it. Loud enough for others to hear. Confident no one would challenge him. People nearby shifted uncomfortably. A young woman pretending to scroll on her phone glanced up, eyes flicking between us. A security guard near the door watched the exchange a little too closely. I tried one last time. "If you'd just take a moment to review my documentation." "I don't need to," he interrupted, turning slightly away from me. "We have real clients to attend to." That was it. That was the line. I remember thinking very clearly, this could have gone another way. I reached into my portfolio, not with anger, not dramatically, just deliberately. I pulled out my phone. The manager scoffed. "Security, please escort her out." The guard hesitated, just for a moment, long enough for me to dial. When the call connected, I said evenly, "Hey, it's me. I'm at the Riverstone branch, and we have a problem." The manager froze. "What is this?" he snapped. "Who are you calling?" I didn't look at him. "I think you should stay right where you are." There was a pause on the other end of the line, then a familiar voice. Calm, curious. "Do you need me to come down?" "Yes," I said. "I think that would be best." The room felt different after that. Not loud, not tense, just uncertain. The manager tried to recover. "Ma'am, if this is some kind of stunt..." He stopped when my phone buzzed again. And again. And when the receptionist's face went pale as she glanced at her screen. 10 minutes later, the glass doors opened and a woman in a dark suit walked in with purpose. No hesitation. No confusion. She didn't look around. She looked straight at me. "Good morning," she said. "Sorry to keep you waiting." The manager's confidence collapsed in real time. "Margaret, what is this?" She didn't answer him. She turned to me. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "I am now." She finally looked at him then. "Why was service denied?" he stammered. There was a misunderstanding. She didn't follow procedure. Margaret didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "She's the reason I'm here today." Silence spread across the lobby. She continued. "As of this morning, she oversees our regional compliance review, including this branch." I watched the realization hit him slow, brutal. The same man who had dismissed me without a second thought was now scrambling to understand how badly he'd misjudged the room. "I didn't know who she was," he said weakly. I finally spoke. That was never the problem. The security guard straightened. The receptionist looked down at the desk. No one moved. Margaret turned to the staff. "This incident will be documented. Effective immediately, leadership at this branch is suspended pending investigation." The manager's mouth opened, closed. 15 years of certainty drained out of him in seconds. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just felt tired and strangely calm. As I walked toward the door, the guard nodded at me, respectful quiet. Outside, the city was loud, alive, indifferent. Sunlight bounced off the glass like nothing extraordinary had happened. But something had. I hadn't won because of my title, or my position, or my power. I'd won because I didn't shrink when they expected me to. I didn't beg for respect. I let their assumptions do the talking, and then I let the truth arrive on its own. That experience stayed with me, not as a victory story, but as a reminder. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in quietly, waits, and lets people expose themselves. So let me ask you something honestly. Do you think people treat you differently because of who you are? Or because of who they assume you are the moment they look at you? I'd love to hear your thoughts.